So I'm just hopping on while I've got a few minutes to, I say a few minutes, just had the doorbell go. Must be delivery. I think my husband's downstairs, so I can run and get that. So the latest book I have read, and I'm doing this review for, is by author Andre Sanders, and it's called Objection. So I'll just pull up the cover so you guys can see that. Now, I don't know why on my Kindle, for some reason, if I push on the cover, it won't enlarge it. I don't know what's happening. Maybe I need to turn it that way. Maybe I can't seem to make it bigger. Oh well, anyway, that's the cover. I read a lot of ebooks because, so it's called Objection. Where I live overseas, books are really expensive, like paperbacks. A paperback you might pay like £6.99 for in the UK, like over here can be like anywhere between €15 upwards of. It's very dynamic the way they price their books. So I'm just going to read the synopsis. Let's see if I can find this. I might have to go on Amazon's website. Read more, here we are. Okay, so it opens up with, she agreed to her abduction. So what happens, the kidnap story, that was kind of pre-arranged, but how Andre writes it, oh my god, I felt myself sort of like grimacing. I was like, wow. So yeah, this poor female protagonist, she's in for a rough time. And then it's followed on with, but never dreamed that she'd fall in love. So it's kind of that through a trauma she's finding love, but the person that she finds love with isn't the person that like hurts her and, you know, semi-maims her perhaps. So the synopsis starts, single mother Shei Rivera volunteers herself to a plan orchestrated by her father. So right off the bat, that kind of gives you the impression of what her relationship is to her dad. I mean, who puts their child in the firing line? Obviously it's his adult daughter, but you know, he's obviously orchestrated this whole scenario. So her dad, Liam Rivera, who is a criminal defense prosecutor for the state of Virginia, you could argue that maybe he should know better being a criminal defense prosecutor, possibly seeing crimes of a plethora of examples of what's happening in the world, but I thought it gave an edge to the story. The fact that there's the instant family link, and you know, she's volunteered it, but he's orchestrated it, and it's like, who's twisting whose arm there? The situation requires Shei to commit an unimaginable crime of her own, homicide. So you can kind of see the layers now of how this is opening up, like what is preordained or being pre-planned. A bit like, it reminded me of a scene from, I can't remember what Marvel film it is, but Natasha, the Black Widow's character, is being interrogated, and then she gets a phone call and she's tied to a chair, and she's going, you know, like, oh, I've pretty much got everything I need from them. And then she turns it round on her captors by, you know, like breaking the chair and breaking free and beating them up, and they have no idea that she's capable of such things. So it's kind of like, who's leading who? Like, is it the criminals that are gonna win out in the end, or is it the Shei's character being a plant, you know, to be captured? So Liam has ordered her to murder the man that he prosecuted years prior over a reckless driving-related death of a child. That is a very personal thing, isn't it? So reading a synopsis like this, you might ask yourself, well, was it his child? Was it a child from another like woman that he was romancing or linked to? Or was it a friend's child? You know, because he wants the person dead. on the morning of her abduction, Shei is physically assaulted. So this is not for the faint of heart, by the way. If you've experienced any kind of crime or things of that nature, I would tread very carefully with a story like this. So Shei is physically assaulted, gagged and bound prior to being thrown inside the trunk of a vehicle. I think as well throughout the story at this point, it suggested that it could have got to the realms of like sexual assault territory, but from memory, I don't believe that occurs. I can't recall that happening. I think there was kind of the suggestion of this, and then something happens that distracts that character from carrying on or being talked down from doing anything, and then it kind of falls by the wayside, so that there isn't an element of that in the story from memory. So on the morning of her abduction, Shei is physically assaulted, gagged and bound prior to being thrown inside the trunk of a vehicle. So it's kind of stereotypical, isn't it? Like someone's kidnapped, where you're going to put them out of sight in the trunk. You know, it's kind of, it's textbook, isn't it? If you look at all films and things over the years, or if you've read similar literature, that's kind of the theme that happens, isn't it? Although there are cases where people are absolutely terrified of having been kidnapped, and they'll go into freeze response, and they can sit in a car unlocked, and the perpetrator can just walk out. I don't know, maybe they fill up their car with petrol and then they go inside the shop to pay, and the person will just sit there. They won't even attempt to flee because they're so frightened. So depending on, you know, how you're going to play out the story, I think putting a person in the trunk of a vehicle who you're going to kidnap is like a safe thing for like a reader to accept would happen. So Liam has ordered sorry, I'm getting so unsure of who her attacker is, so it's clearly not clear whether it's the intended person that she's looking to murder herself or someone else. So there wasn't obviously a discussion with her and her dad clear enough of like who the person is, or if there has been, she doesn't recognize who her attacker is. So she's unsure of it. She's transported to a cabin deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Again, out of sight, out of mind. You're going to be in a cabin. You'll want to be in the middle of nowhere. You don't want anyone to be knowing where you are, doing what you're doing. It's if you're kidnapping someone, you know? So it's a very agreeable subject, and the way it's been written is very good from that point of view. It's like, it gave me vibes of switching on Netflix and just watching that kind of standalone film that, you know, just runs the narrative, and even if you suspect there's a twist when you don't know what the twist is, there's a twist in this story, by the way, which it kind of flabbergasted me a little bit, and I was like, oh, that would actually make a really good story, like on a film set, like watching a film. Like if this had been a film, I would have watched it beginning to end, no problems. So yeah, so she's transported to a cabin deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and she's handed over to a guy called Casper Floyd. So this is the man that her father helped convict. So this sounds like the intended victim from her and her dad's perspective. Like that's the man that they've lined up to off by getting her kidnapped to get in there, to like infiltrate and locate where he is, you know? So it's a bit like, who's the hunter, who's the hunted, and that switching of one to the other. Strangely, Shei discovers that Casper is nothing like he was described as being, hence the twist. He is nice, polite, and vows to look after her. So even though under really tense circumstances, he's a gentleman. He's very polite to her. He tries to reassure her that from his stance, he has no desire to want to hurt her at all. He denies any wrongdoing in the crime he had been incarcerated over, and he claims that it was her father who assured his conviction by way of deceitful and highly unlawful legally practices. So it just goes to show how corrupt the woman's father is. He's lied to his daughter, put her in an extremely dangerous situation, which she's agreed to do because she's on board with the narrative her father has run to her. And, you know, fortunately, this Casper dude is not a cretin. You know, he sounds like quite a decent stand-up bloke. So she's very lucky in that respect. But now she's going to have to work the cogs to be like, what the hell do I do now? Because, you know, my dad's kind of set me up and this Casper guy. Also, what I thought was like, would her dad not suspect him to sing like a canary? Because if he's a criminal defense prosecutor, he would be able to profile people, body language, mannerisms, and would he not kind of say to his daughter, like, don't fall for his charm? He will say whatever he needs to say to, like, you know, stop the proverbial from happening. Don't buy into it. So I don't remember that kind of coming into play, which was interesting. As the two spend much time learning about each other, Shei discovers the shocking secret that her deceased mother's $2 million life insurance policy is at the heart of this scheme. Ouch. She comes to the conclusion that Casper is not the monster he was made out to be and is actually there to protect her. The true villain seems to be everyone else involved, individuals she would have never once suspected. For what reason would someone want them both dead? How far will Shei and Casper have to go to assure their survival? And ultimately, can love and affection truly evolve from an intended devastation? So my takeaway from this story is it's very fast reading. It's like an action film in a book. You can read it start to finish, no problems. Like it took me, I think about 2.5, 3 hours to digest like pretty much the whole book, because it was a page turner. Like I was with the characters, there's a momentum, it's moving forward all the time, which is what I love about books. And yeah, it's an 18, it says here age level 18. I would say 18, 21, depending on life experience. But yeah, it's a good one if you are, if you like a bit of action, if you like action films, you'll like this story. And if you like books with a twist in, where you get quite a good idea with the synopsis of what's happening, believe me, like the twisting and turning is like wowie. So it's a really good one. I rate it 5 stars because I read it really quickly. Like it gripped my attention, it kept me entertained. I wanted to follow the narrative all the way through. I didn't get bored with it. I never really put it down, apart from maybe going to the toilet or to like get some snacks, or to see to my children. And yeah, it kept me going with it. So that's why I've rated it 5 stars. So yeah, if you like adult fiction, thriller, mystery with grit, there's a lot of grit in this story, then I would absolutely check this out. So yeah, that's it. So there's the book. It's a romantic thriller, and it's called Objection by Andre Sanders. Really good story. And yeah, that's my recommendation, and that's my overall summing up of the story. I really liked it. So yeah, and then my next one is a cozy read, so I'm cracking on with that for my next review, because I predominantly set up this channel to highlight and give some spotlight to cozy authors, because I'm a cozy author myself. But I actually know Andre, and we've been friends for a couple of years now, and he's a phenomenal like horror thriller novelist. Like seriously, the gritty stuff is, I mean, there's one book of his I didn't finish, and we had a discussion about it, and he completely accepted why, and that kind of deepened our friendship, because we shared parts of ourselves in a very private setting via sort of conversationally online, because Andre lives in the States, I'm in Spain, so it's not like we are personal friends on a face-to-face footing. We know each other through social media, but I don't think that really matters in today's age. I think you can get the feel of what a person is really about the more you interact and chat with them. And yeah, he's really good. The way he can lay out a story, his tempo, pitch, tone, the way he runs a narrative, it's really good quality, and that just kept me reading like all the way through. Like I was like, I finished it so quickly. But yeah, my next book is a cozy, so I'm not going to give any spoilers just yet. I'm gonna read the book, and then I'll present it much as I've done today with Andre's book. But yeah, I hope if you have seen this video, I've piqued your interest and made you consider reading his book, because it is a good one. If you like anything like Stephen King, trying to think of more sort of thriller writers, American based. I mean, Stephen King comes in really quickly because I've read a lot of his stuff over lots of years and seen his televised work. But Andre comes into that bracket, I feel, with just the grittiness of things he puts into his story and the narrative and things that happen to the protagonists. I think another author who I've recently been introduced to, C.J. Tudor, who did a story called The Burning Girls that got turned into a Paramount Plus series, which I binge watched. Like, that was insane. And I've just read her book, The Gathering, which is narrated by Richard Armitage. All the hair on the back of my neck was stood up. I was like, oh, that is intense. So yeah, I'd say Andre is in that category of genre of fiction and stuff. So yeah. But anyway, thank you for watching my live. It's my second one. I'm slowly getting used to doing these. And yeah, I'm trying to keep them not so long, because my last one was about an hour long because I was doing my own introduction and all that jazz. But yeah, I found out that it takes forever to kind of upload your lives the longer they are. So yeah, I keep it short and sweet. But yeah, I rate this 5 stars all the way. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And, you know, if Netflix are watching, check it out. I think it would make a really good standalone story on the TV. I think people would pick it to watch, and they would just all the way from start to finish, like, enjoy the journey. So yeah, anyway guys, take care, enjoy your weekends, and I will see you on the next live. All right guys, bye.